G'day Art Snackers, my name is James of James Burke Creative and welcome to another month of ArtSnacks Box Freestyle, where we take the supplies from the ArtSnacks Plus box, experiment with them to within an inch of their life, and then hopefully create a masterpiece for the hashtag ArtSnacks Challenge. This is the December 2021 Plus box. It's the last box freestyle for this year. We've had a great year and I just wanted to give one more fun fact before we go into 2022, and that is, for the first time in 6 years, I'll be going home to Australia for Christmas to spend it with my family. I've finally been able to return home and have a full-blown Aussie Christmas, and I'm really excited. I hope you have something really fun planned for the holiday season as well. Let's get into the Plus box and start playing. Here is the December 2021 ArtSnacks Plus box. Here's everything inside, and in the green burrito, this is everything we'll be playing with today. First up in the Plus box, we have the Hanemule the Zigzag book. This is size 6x4, and this is 300 GSM watercolor paper in an accordion fold kind of configuration. There are 18 pages in there. Great for panoramic sketching. In the Plus box, we also have Copic multi-liners, a fine black set of 4. In the regular box, we have the Hanemule the Zigzag book in a size 2x2 inch. It's a teeny tiny miniature version of that first book that I was showing. Again, accordion folded and 18 pages of watercolor paper in there. Really sturdy 300 GSM. Good quality watercolor paper. We have two Tombow dual brush pens. I got this brown color and this purple color, 027 and 665. We also have the Tombow Mono Twin permanent marker, as well as the Edding 5000 acrylic marker in the broad tip. It's a 5 to 10 millimeter tip, and my color was Mellow Mint. As always, we have the sticker and the snap. Let's clear this out of the way and get set up for play. Drinking hot wine by the fire. So to do all of my experimentation and testing of the supplies, I decided to use the 2x2 inch zigzag book, and I just flipped it to the back panels so that once all of the pages were spread out flat, I kind of flipped the whole book upside down just so I could use those back panels, and I wanted to kind of play with that entire panoramic spread and just test all the supplies. A lot of what I was testing today was the kind of water reactivity of the supplies. That Tombow black pen, that mono twin pen, is very waterproof. Many oil-based inks are super waterproof. I won't say all, I mean everything's kind of a different mixture between companies at the end of the day, but that one is super duper kind of almost instantly permanent. So if you're someone that doesn't like to wait once you've inked your drawings and you want to get your watercolor on there, I would actually really recommend that. And it's not often that I get to recommend those pens, because even the ones that are very waterproof, sometimes if they're really inky, some of that ink will kind of seep into the paper, and then some of it will kind of sit on top of it, and you might end up reactivating with that, or it's just got a slower drying time. This one was very quick drying. I will also say it could be the paper as well. It's a very thick 300 GSM paper. It's a bit of cold pressed, I would say. It's not super smooth. There's a bit of tooth to it, which is my preference, and it's a very durable paper. There was next to no warping or buckling, and I was applying lots of watery mixes and even just applying straight water to it. So this journal, especially with the accordion fold, I would recommend to anyone who is doing I guess art journaling is a fun way to look at it, and that is kind of my final piece today, so we'll talk about that, but especially urban sketching, and especially people who like to do nature landscapes. I don't think you can really beat how panoramic the layout is once you fully open that accordion journal. You don't even have to fully open it. Even opening just a few of the pages, you can divide it up into doing, maybe this one's just 3 panels wide, and then another one could be 6 panels wide, however you like to divvy that up. But I decided to use all of those back panels today just to do my testing. A lot of mixing together with water. I tried to do a bit of a stamping technique to see if I could get some interesting modeled effects. I don't think I used the right kind of plastic. I shouldn't have used those cards. I should have just used a straight up piece of plastic to do that, but it's okay. It's all trial and error. One of the things I wanted to point out was the bleaching of the Tombow markers. I love Tombow markers. They're some of my favorite markers to use in a lot of my journals because they don't bleed through like a Copic marker will. They're very saturated. They come in so many beautiful colors, and they're really great for any of my journals that are kind of not watercolor paper. They're really thin coated papers. They work really well on that. But they're also great because you can activate them with water. But there are two differences there, and you can see the one that's closest to the screen, just to the left, you can see that those bleach spots are really, really bright just there. And you can see in the other little paint swatch, the pink, I've done more of those bleach spots, but you can see they're much more faint. So when you react that dye ink with water, it almost becomes locked in after the first time you react it. I'm not going to say it's super permanently locked, but when you reactivate it with water again, after it's already been activated, you're gonna have to scrub really, really hard. And even if you try to bleach out some of the spots like we did there in that test, you won't get as vibrant an impact. Like it won't pack as much of a punch as if you're reactivating it for the first time. So that ink is pretty interesting for its water reactivity. It's like you can reactivate it once, and then not really after that. So it's a really interesting kind of like one-time application watercolor that you get out of it. But that makes for some really interesting effects and some really simple layering. So if you're someone that really struggles to glaze with watercolor, glazing with an ink like that is a fun way to be able to not muddy everything up, because it kind of locks itself in once it's dried that first time. So we're gonna move on to our final piece, and I'll explain a bit more about it in a second. For the ArtSnacks challenge this month, I've decided to take the 4x6 zigzag book and art journal in it. Art journaling is one of my favorite things. I'm about to get onto a very passionate speech about art journaling. So before I do, let me just clarify what you're watching, just so you can have that in mind while we're talking. This is my weekend that I just had, and I'm just documenting the experience with illustration, with writing, you know, graphics and type and quotes and lists and just things. You know, not all those things are in there. Look, I art journal a whole bunch of different ways. I like to be very intuitive about it. Some of my travel journals are more based on the experiences that I have, much like this, and then some are like fully illustrated like this, and then others don't have any illustrations at all. They're all brochures and ticket stubs and stickers and photos. You know, it's just a lot of cutting and pasting. But the whole purpose of the art journal for me is kind of what I'm going to get into in this video as well. And I just want to open your mind to art journaling. If it's something you've never heard of before, perhaps I could set you off on a journey down the rabbit hole. And let me tell you, when I fell down this rabbit hole in 2015, I never got out. I'm still here. Art journaling is one of my favorite things, and it's something I can't rave enough about. So you're about to get a very impassioned speech in the next few minutes. Hopefully I can condense all of the relevant information, but I do get carried away. So the art journaling, this, like I said, was the weekend I just had, and I'm just documenting my experience. For me though, it kind of relates to anything and everything creative or imaginative that I have going on, or real. I mean, for me, art journaling is about documenting my experience. It's about kind of, you know, flexing creative muscles. It's about learning. It's about testing art supplies and having fun with them. It's also about kind of switching my brain off and, you know, allowing myself a place just to stick stickers for 10 minutes while I take some downtime from my brain. It's about a place to keep records of things, you know, to document experiences that I've had, but also feelings. It's a place where I go to write so I can process things out. That's relatively new. That wasn't a big part of my journey in art journaling at the beginning, but throughout time, it's really evolved. It also serves as a scrapbook of sorts. I put lots of photos in my art journals, so it becomes a really exciting place to revisit for my nostalgia. I'm quite a nostalgic person, so to record a lot of my experiences is something that, you know, I actually just benefit from personality-wise, because it really stimulates that part of my excitement that just loves to revisit fun memories and fun experiences. And it's always interesting to note down the very specifics that happen whilst you're experiencing them, or very soon to that event, or like close to that, because oftentimes I forget a lot. I forget a lot of the minute detail, or even some of the context, or just some of the jokes, or some of the random things that, you know, mean so much now, but maybe I wouldn't even remember 2 years from now or 2 days from now. One of the most interesting journals that I keep is an art journal, because I do put some creative things in there, some stickers and some, you know, washi tape samples. I do drawings in there as well sometimes, some illustrations, but it's a 5-year journal. So each day I write in there, and I just write about my day, or I write about my feelings or my experiences, kind of like a diary. But it's ongoing for 5 years. So I start again every year, and I get to revisit the passage and see, you know, not only what I was doing last year, but exactly like who I was last year, what my frame of mind was, what my context was, the things that were worrying me last year or the things I was excited about last year. Not only that, I actually started in 2019, so I get to look back 2 years ago and see just how far I've come. I mean, to not state the obvious, but obviously to compare 2019 to 2020 was super interesting for how different everything was. But now to compare and contrast 2021 with 2020, again, completely different and wild. The marketing campaign that sold me on that 5-year journal was them just saying, picture everything you've done in the last 5 years. And then I was like, wow, that was a lot. And then, you know, I kind of felt upset that I didn't have it all documented because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm a very nostalgic person, very sentimental. These art journals for me are a place, like, they're tangible. A tangible place that I can come back and revisit memories. It's like tangible nostalgia. A lot of the photos trigger a lot of, you know, thought, and a lot of processing happens in here. It's even great for some of those times where I do go back, and especially with my 5-year journal, it provides such clarity and context to situations that I'm experiencing, you know, now, and maybe I can compare them to something that I've already been through before and, you know, regain some insight. I think a lot of the time the art journals serve such a big purpose just for my growth as a human being. Obviously, I can't state any of that stuff as a direct benefit. I'm not a therapist. I'm definitely not licensed in any way to tell you any of those benefits. But for me, just keeping them, you know, and it wasn't even always about the words. A lot of the illustrations I did, a lot of the journaling that I did, even just sticking down photos and stickers, it may have seemed crazy that some of my pages had just leaves all over them, but they were a really, really soothing, kind of calming exercise for me to do when my brain felt really scattered. I do a lot of stream of consciousness journaling these days, where it's literally just kind of unfuzzing my brain. Is that a word? It is now. So there's practical benefits for why I even keep an art journal. But if I can just leave one thing, the art journals for me are just kind of collections of my experience, my life, who I am, what I think about, my imagination, my creativity, and it's literally documents all of that and the process of it. So then they become these kind of collections that sit on a shelf that I can revisit at any time, and I can't tell you everything I love about them, but I do love art journaling. So if you're going to go in a rabbit hole down YouTube videos today, please consider just looking into art journaling a little bit and let me know what you think. Do you art journal? Have you ever experienced it? If you do, what does art journaling mean to you and how do you do it? Because I know we all do it super differently. I would be fascinated just to see what you guys would do with art journaling because I love it so much. There we go, that's a wrap on the art journaling. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that impassioned speech. I just get way too carried away when I talk about art journaling, but I hope you learned a little bit more about it and why I love it so much. If you would like to join ArtSnacks, you can do so with the code JAMES10 at checkout for 10% off. And also don't forget to share your work with us in the Mix community and on social media using the hashtag ArtSnacksChallenge. Wishing you all a very safe and happy holiday season. I'll see you again in 2022. Thanks for watching. Bye.